This week on Beyond the Vibe, we have our first Spotlight episode focusing on upcoming bands. This time, it's Shape of Water.
Probably a pandemic. The only thing that can happen is a pandemic. I really said that.
You've tempted fate. It was your fault.
Honestly, every time we do something, he comes with like, oh, we have to be. What if this happened? And every time I'm, Rox, don't fucking say that. Because probably like Ozzy Osbourne or Motley Crue was definitely.
You've got straight for the party.
Yeah, you've got some party vibes.
Ozzy Osbourne, yeah, I like that.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Vibe, the show that cuts deep into the world of music.
Yes, my name is Aaron Day. I'm lead guitarist in UK band These Wicked Rivers. And I'm here with the one, the only music videographer and photographer. It's Mr. Ryan Vasey.
Yes.
How you doing? You good?
Oh, we're doing good, aren't we? We have arms.
We do. So this is proper now. Like, if we needed to do the YMCA under threat of death, we could do it and still do the show, which is something that I worry about all the time if that situation could concur. So I'm glad we've found a suitable way of dealing with my my personal issues.
Well, you know, that was at the forefront of my mind when I was
I know my
purchasing these.
personal issues are at the forefront of your mind at all times. How's your week been, man?
Oh, it's been all right. Obviously, we are still shut down, but we're doing stuff, aren't we?
Yeah.
Listening to music and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we watched an interesting documentary that was made a few years ago. That Metallica, Some Kind of Monster.
Yeah.
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I've never seen it before.
Yeah, so I've told Ryan about this so many times, and obviously you've listened to Saint Anger.
Yes, I did as kind of an accompanying companion piece.
Comes with it. What do you think of the doc? What did you take from the band? Was there any particular band members that you think came out well from it? Any that came out particularly bad from it, Lars?
Yeah, I was going to say Lars is at the. I felt that he was at his forefront, most arrogant, like the most arrogant point in history that he could possibly be.
It didn't help that you meet his dad in it, and his dad's the fucking.
Oh, his dad was so
his dad's
chill.
The dude, man.
He was like some hippie dude, and he was like,
"I want his dad to tell me I'm a good boy."
I loved when he was like, took him into the studio, and he was like, "What do you think of this?" And he was like, "Burn it."
I would delete that.
Yeah,
it's lovely in Danish. Kirk.
Yes,
was great in it. I think that was a big thing for you, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's very easy to take the piss out.
Well, everybody tears into Kirk, and like he seems like such a chill dude, doesn't he? Like he reminds me of like the surfer type, kind of guys that I'd come across in Cornwall. Like they let everything just go pretty straight up their head. Like whatever, man, it's cool.
I think you need that element in a band where you've got quite quite large egos. You know, big characters is a more sort of complimentary.
At that period of time, though, egos.
It was egos.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of masculinity there as well. And I think the two of them just bashing heads against each other.
The bit for me was where Lars was sat in his own house and he was surrounded by his own paintings.
Yeah. He's got blonde hair.
Yes,
blonde hair
it was the whole package for me. But if anybody hasn't seen that, I'd encourage them to have a watch of it because it's just an interesting thing to look back on, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think like having too big a Metallica chat, I think it's interesting how difficult it was for them to make that album and how challenging it is, even more difficult it is to listen to it.
Yeah.
But then Death Magnetic and like Hardwired to Self-Destruct, I think they're pretty solid albums.
Yeah, I would agree. To come back from that album, I think it's a big thing.
Sometimes you need to go quite far down a dark hole to know what you're good at and know what you do well. You know, maybe they just needed that point in their careers, but it's hard work, definitely. I've been listening to the opposite of that this week. I've been listening to Tom Petty.
Yeah, that's quite a departure. I mean, I want to see a Tom Petty documentary where he's breaking down and going mental like Lars Ulrich.
Well, it's kind of probably the opposite of maybe I watched Some Kind of Monster and I was like, fuck,
I need something to
positive.
Chill me out after that.
I'm really into this whole sort of American songwriter vibe, that real kind of like there's this massive, like when Tom Petty died, you really saw it pour out, but this real emotional connection that a lot of Americans have with Tom Petty. And I think it's that real simple, as a lyric writer, he just evokes on certain things, and it's that very much that sort of chilled out sort of American storytelling. There's another band called America.
Yes.
From the 70s, they're a fucking wonderful band. Their third album, Hat Trick's one of my favourite albums ever. It's really wonderful album. With me and Jade found it in a charity shop. Just thought they looked really cool, and it's like one of our favourite albums ever. But it's that similar sort of thing where you could imagine them writing it sort of lying on a sofa in the studio, and it just rails off. But there's some bits with Tom Petty, like Running Down a Dream, which was the first time I discovered Tom Petty. I think it's on the soundtrack for San Andreas on GTA.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And it's just when I was younger and I was learning to play guitar, I used to play along to it for a backing track, and I just think it's it's the ultimate driving song. And Tom Petty has that lovely balance where he's got that sort of American, songwriter thing with the acoustic songs, but he can go a bit more rocky, and he's got that element to it. Just a cool band with the Heartbreakers. I really, really attach myself to anything like that. Completely different than Metallica. It's completely different.
Just a slight departure there.
Just a slight difference, but
yeah,
and I think there's, I think it's something really cool. But maybe we're looking at spotlight of new bands in this episode, and maybe we need something like that, like a Tom Petty style band.
Maybe. I mean, at this period of time where everything's a bit doom and gloom,
yes,
he's pretty uplifting, isn't he? Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why you listen to him.
Yeah, that's it. So as we just spoke on there, so what we're going to do is we're now going to dive into a little spotlight feature. Basically, what me and Ryan wanted to do is the last episode of every month. We wanted to utilise it as a bit of a platform to kind of introduce people to a band they might not have heard of before, or mainly for me and Ryan, to be fair, to try and Ryan particularly has been good for me because I'm quite close-minded. Not close-minded, but I know what I like, and I'm quite difficult to kind of to open my ears.
You have a specific image of exactly what you want.
Band,
yeah,
it's probably quite critical of me, but and then you've helped me kind of open my ears a little bit more. So maybe this is part of that,
Yeah, I think it's good to just have a thing of at the end of each month, we're bringing in somebody that to a lot of people could be completely new, could be completely fresh, and I think that's. It's a big part of the music scene, new bands coming through, and we're trying to bring that music scene together, and I feel that, new bands are a part of that, so it wouldn't be right to kind of exclude new bands from that. So
very well put, man.
Yeah.
And today's band we're looking at is Shape of Water. Okay, so these is two lads who actually came from Italy.
Yes.
Met in Italy and then came over to Manchester with a different project, which we'll talk about in the interview. And then ended up forming the Shape of Water. And we actually got into these guys because they were recommended to us by the New Wave of Classic Rock.
Yes, in that interview as well.
Pete and Richard, yeah. So that was something where it was right, me and Ryan thought, we'll check them out. And when we checked them out, we've got to chat to these guys, especially the story of them coming over here and then immediately getting involved in sort of, the whole movement around the New Wave of Classic Rock. And I bet that was really cool for a band to be involved in that sense of community that the New Wave of Classic Rock has, to feel so welcomed, especially kind of starting things out in another country. What sort of sounds for people who haven't listened to them before? What sort of
for people that don't know much about them, my comparison would be if you like stuff like Muse.
Yeah.
That was kind of the one that came to mind for me at first. It's that kind of what did you say when we were chatting before? It's like alternative
rock.
Rock,
I think they put themselves as almost like an art rock band.
Yes.
And the thing with these sort of bands that other bands don't have by kind of closing themselves into a certain bracket, which I'm sure the guys in Shape of Water love, because they appear really creative, is it gives them a platform to express themselves pretty much any way they want.
Yeah, the big thing I've noticed from listening to them is per song quite different. It has an overarching style, but per song, there's different things in there. It's not like, well, I've heard one song from them now, so I know exactly what they're like.
Yeah, lots of different colours and lots of different sort of sounds with and all that. And I think they're a nice, fresh sort of wave for the New Wave of Classic Rock. It just shakes the boat a little bit and just reminds us that we can dive in and out of different genres, but retain that core that kind of brings us all together. And I think that's healthy for everyone. So yeah.
Yes, so over to Shape of Water.
Thank you for having us.
So we invited Shape of Water onto the show this week. Once a month, we like to do a spotlight episode and kind of up and coming bands that, mainly for me and Rye, that we haven't discovered before. And obviously, as we said in the teasers and in the trailers, when we did the episode with the lads from New Wave of Classic Rock, they were really singing you guys' praises. And that then it kind of pushed me and Rye when we used your song for the trailer to check you guys out, and we were really excited by it. So we thought we'd bring you on, have a chat, sort of have a look at your journey, and hopefully bring you as a platform for new listeners.
Nice.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's difficult time for music.
Yeah, it's definitely. And one of the things we wanted to try and do was try and bring the scene a bit kind of closer together with the podcast. Try and bring musicians and bands together. And I remember what it was like to be on a stage like 14 years ago or whenever it was.
Yeah. So let's go right back to the beginning for you guys. How did you meet, and how did you both have that musical connection from the beginning, or was it something?
Well, honestly, we've been knowing each other for 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. So he's like my brother. So basically, we grew up together
in our town in Italy. So we formed this band into 2004, I think.
Yeah.
It was called The Lotus, and then we published an album and 2 EPs, I think.
Yeah.
And then we decided to move here, to move to Manchester,
because the rock scene in Italy is basically dead.
Well, music scene is
the music scene is dead in Italy.
So not just the rock scene, just the music scene in general, like live gigs, are just really hard work in Italy.
Unless you count, I don't know, trap as music. No, sorry, I wasn't.
No, me and Ryan would agree. We struggle to think of trap as music, so we're all on the same page.
Okay, so we understand each other. So the thing is, we couldn't actually. We didn't have the chance to prove ourselves what we could do as a band, as a musician in Italy. So we decided, you know what, it's time for us to move. And actually move to another country, and UK seems the better,
option. Yeah.
Did you have any other
UK,
options?
Well, it was
United States, but actually was too far from home.
honestly, UK has always been our main.
Because our favorite band was old British band.
Yeah.
We're all British band, so.
Right.
Anyway, we moved to Manchester in 2015. Wow. In 2015, and I think after a year we split up with the Lotus.
Yeah, it was a difficult band.
We were 5 members, but 3 were in Italy. Actually, 2. No, 3 were in Italy, and we were here, so it was a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so it's arrived the time when we decided to take our own path.
And
we formed Shape of Water.
Yeah, it was actually difficult because the Lotus was basically our life. We've been with the Lotus for more than 10 years, so it's like, oh wow. If you had asked me like 6 years ago if I had, if the Lotus were finished, I would say no. The Lotus would be forever. And then we say, you know what, it's really time to move on. And
were you really close? Obviously, you spoke about how you two are pretty much brothers, and you get that vibe definitely just from chatting to the two of you, and obviously what you've done with Shape of Water. Was it that same feeling with the guys in the Lotus over the 10 years? With no discredit to your relationship with them, was it that same closeness?
With some of them, yes.
Yeah, with some of them.
With all of them, apart from them. No, actually, with all of them.
Yeah, we were, but me and Rox. Let's say that we were the most convinced one. Does it make sense?
No, that's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah.
You believe the most in terms of what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
I think the thing is also that me and him are more connected in terms of genre, of musical style, and all the things I liked, he liked, etc. and vice versa. So it was like normal. It was normal for us to just go that way together without everybody else.
Right, okay. So as you said, in 2015, as the Lotus, you made the decision to move to the UK, and you kind of touched on that, you know, a lot of your inspiration coming from British bands and stuff, and like you say, which was really interesting around the music scene in Italy. What made you come to the decision of Manchester? Was there anything in particular around Manchester, or was it just the right place for you guys?
Well, there was his ex-girlfriend that was studying here, so...
That was actually one of the main reasons.
There's always a woman involved, isn't there?
Always. But the thing also, we decided at the beginning for London, but then we said, you know what? London is a beautiful city, but maybe...
It was expensive at the moment because when we moved, we were basically without money. We were broken, actually broken. So
yeah, we were broke. I came here with 300 euros. No.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, maybe London. We're gonna go on the streets in probably 2 weeks. So it's better we choose another town, another city. But the thing is, now that I think about it, I think Manchester was the good choice because what we did in 5 years in Manchester, probably it could have taken 15 years in London. In Italy, probably 30 years. But in London as well, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Manchester's quite a cool place as well. Obviously, we've kicked in Manchester, and I really feel like there's a different vibe. You know, probably what you was touching on with London. I think because there's so much going on in London, it can become quite chaotic and it can be a bit of a swarm. Yeah. You know, whereas in Manchester, you've probably got a bit more room to find your own identity and your own place in all of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So obviously we've touched on it a bit, but after you guys kind of split up with Lotus and made formed Shape of Water, musically, did you guys go in a different direction at that point, or have you always been at the kind of style that you're at now?
Well, I think with the Lotus it was a little bit more prog-ish, metalish.
Mm-hmm.
So
we were definitely heavier than Shape of Water. So a bit more complicated music, you know.
But me and Rox, we were a little bit tired of all this metal because in Italy there's this kind of metal Nazism. So if you play metal, you have to be metal. You have to stuck with metal. It's pray metal, eat metal. You know.
In Italy, where we used to live. So
yeah, where we used to live.
You know the town. It's not like this, but. How we used to do? Yes.
We were a little bit tired, even because my kind of play is more bluesy than metal, and so I wanted to try something that was more in my style, in my taste. Mm. And so Shape of Water was it. We didn't think too much which kind of sound we need to have, which kind of sound it just came natural.
Yeah.
You know?
And honestly, some songs were written before, so when we were still the Lotus. But we felt that those songs weren't good for the Lotus, but were good for Shape of Water.
And when we decided the name Shape of Water, it was like, because we wanted to be like water. We want to adapt to any kind of container, and this doesn't mean that we want everybody to love us, to like us, but that we want to be like not stuck in a genre. Mm-hmm. So if tomorrow we want to do a funky song, we can. We set no boundaries to our style, you know. So it's just like experience everything that comes in our mind.
This is something we discussed.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Even trap. Interesting. No, just kidding.
But you know, it's true because it's basically by naming yourself as the Shape of Water, it's a defiance to all the things you struggled with when you was with the Lotus.
Yes, and even because when we started Shape of Water, we were just 2 heads making decision instead of 5, so everything was a lot easier. It's like I want to try this, and if he says like, okay, let's try it. When we were 5. It was like a lot of talking to arrive at the end of nothing, you know.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, we have a similar thing with me and the boys in Rivers. You know, it's difficult when you've got a certain cemented sound because you can't break out of that.
What you mean? I mean, yeah, when you're more than 3, probably, because even if you are 3-member band, it's fine. But when you're more than 3,
4, 5, 6,
yeah,
like the Slipknot 9 people.
Unless there's just one person that decides for everyone, it's difficult when you have to, you know.
Yeah. So you've chatted about sort of the fact that your name with the shape of water and the fact that you want to be kind of, you know, you're able to fit into different situations and have that creative freedom. So I suppose that brings me to kind of how you're described in terms of a genre. A lot of kind of publications have described you as almost an art rock band, which I haven't seen many bands kind of described as before. Would you both say that's kind of the best description of you guys as a band?
No.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
No, actually, we actually write that we are art rock, but honestly, I think what defines us is probably that we are mainly rock.
Yeah. The fact is, what is a genre is something that I never understood. Because as long as you do music, yes, we use an amplifier, a guitar, a distortion, we got drums and bass, but sometimes things comes out very different in styles. And so we want to try. At the end, we don't like to stuck in a genre, maybe. Yeah.
Well, of course, sometimes you have to put something because otherwise people will say, okay, but what kind of music you play? So,
yeah, you're right. Sadly, it's a question that nearly always comes up, isn't it? I mean, we talk a lot about this, don't we, Rye? You know, because we listen to, like, even though we've always got that thing of being into rock music, you know, we listen to kind of all different embers of it. And I agree completely. I think it's almost an awkward question, really, because it's like people are constantly trying to put you in a box, and it sounds, by the sounds of it, sounds like that's the opposite of what you guys want to happen. You know, you want to break out of the box rather than be placed in it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So your first single of Shape of Water was a cover, the Ultravox song, the Dancing with Tears in My Eyes. So like for a lot of new bands, that probably that isn't like a conventional thing to do, like bring out a cover at the start. Was there like a thought process behind doing that, or was it just like, we want to do this song?
What happened really was that when we formed, we had already some songs that we eventually put in our first release, Illusions. So we had them already recorded. So we did an EP, okay, and in this EP there was also Dancing with Tears in My Eyes. And we put out some songs, like was The World Is Calling Me, before Dancing with Tears in My Eyes.
Right, okay.
But then, of course, we signed with Eclipse Records, so we basically, the real single was Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, you know?
Yeah, basically, Chris from Eclipse Record, he said it's better if we just take this song out, so we release
everything, The World Is Calling Me.
Yeah. And then we do the first single with Eclipse Record with
The World Is Calling Me, and then lots of other things and so on.
Right, okay. So you basically, so the same for people that obviously don't know that path to it, so that you'd already released material up to that point, but when Eclipse came along, they kind of sat down with you guys and said, look, I think this will be the best first thing to put out from us guys. You know, was it that cover that gained their interest?
It was
Yeah.
Well, we actually sent the cover, and as well
the World Is Calling Me was part of the package that we sent them.
We had already some songs, as I said before, so they were interested in our music in general. So they were interested about the cover, but also the songs.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, as Rye said, because obviously I think it's cool because, like you say, because it's all part of the package of what is The Shape of Water. It's not like you've just put that out as one single thing. It's just part of what you guys do, and it was an interesting choice. I think it's a really cool example of how you guys are trying to think outside the box all the time. Because it's something that probably wouldn't relate massively to sort of that hard rock or rock sort of genre, but you've been able to give it the Shape of Water touch and make it your own thing, and I think that's cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I know from myself and obviously the boys in These Wicked Rivers that releasing an album during a global pandemic, it's pretty challenging.
Absolutely.
I think you have to definitely think on your feet, boys. And I know you guys have had the same thing. I mean, not being able to tour and celebrate the album with the fans. And obviously this was this your first release through, or your first sort of full album at this point?
Yeah. And obviously everything was started before the COVID, so we already got all the dates set. And when this COVID thing started, we were just like, oh, let's hope there is finished for June. And then June, it was still there. Yeah, and now we are doing the same because we got some festival this year. And we really don't want to cancel it.
Yeah, we've got the same thing. I can imagine, boys. It's difficult because it feels like you were, because obviously before Great Illusions kind of was planned to come out, it comes across like you really spent a lot of time with producers and really working on how you wanted to put the album across. So I imagine it was frustrating, when it came to that climactic point, and it's like, oh, we've really got to think on our feet at this point.
Oh man. Actually, I shouldn't say that, but I actually said, I think it was in January, I said, you know what, probably a pandemic, the only thing that can happen is a pandemic. I really said that. I really said that.
You've tempted fate. It was your fault.
Honestly, every time we do something, he comes with like, oh, we have to be, what if this happened? And every time Rox, don't fucking say that. And trust me, this is what always happens.
You'll have to keep us updated, man, because if he says something else, like, we'll have to prepare. Like, if there's like a tidal wave or like a hurricane, like we've got to prepare before everyone else if it's been predicted. Yeah, no, we'll have to link up. But yeah, I mean, how did you guys kind of keep that energy going through the pandemic and attention around the band and the release? What sort of different ways did you kind of keep the attention on you guys? Because we've really struggled. It was difficult.
We had to adapt. Basically, we had to do some live streamings. We did some live online.
Streaming, but honestly, from my point of view, you do the live streaming, but I really miss play live because I like that energy vibe. Everything for me, music is just to play live, and so it's just hard.
Yeah, I mean, we was chatting about it the other day, me and Rye. It's only just hit me, to be honest, boys. Like, I was reasonably okay during last year, but particularly because I think we all thought it would probably been and gone by this point. I think it only makes it kind of more sad, like yourselves looking ahead to the year and what's planned and not knowing whether or not it's going to go ahead. And that probably leads to Ryan's next question.
Of course, you have the up-and-coming EP titled Lockdown in Mars, due for release on February 12th. How would you describe the EP? Like, is there...
Crazy is the first word.
That's a good word.
Because probably you already listened to Perfect Love. That actually was just an acoustic electro song that we did long time ago, yeah. But the other songs that are going to be in the album, like the Marsex cinematic version and the World is Calling Me cinematic version, they are pretty weird.
So the thing is, as we said before about the genre, etc. So we like to experiment. We have to do several alternative version of the songs we play. So I think it was even before lockdown, we tried to, because we always been fan of film music and Hans Zimmer, something like that. Cool. And we tried to do something different. And basically, those two songs are cinematic version of the original song that are in Great Illusions.
So there is a lot of violins, a lot of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you guys do that independently, or do you kind of go to studios or anything? Because obviously, like, the background at the minute is the studio vibe.
I did it by myself.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So I bet that's awesome for you to have that creative platform in it, just to dive into the songs and just to rebuild them all with that cinematic epicness to them.
Oh yeah, I love it also because, well, I've been always in love with classic music. I studied piano since I was little, and actually I'm trying to do that as well for myself, through music, and it's something we always wanted to do. So we say,
let's try it.
Let's try. I mean, there's nothing we can do. So,
well, I suppose it's a good time for it, isn't it? You've got a bit of creative platform. I mean, to try and avoid any frustration with it, I think the important thing to always remember, which, to be fair, Ryan always reminds me of, is that everybody's on pause. The world's been put on pause, and particularly, obviously, Britain. So it's a great time if you have got them creative aspects and you want to use them. I think that now's the time to dive into it. Definitely. Just a side step, gents. What do you both do away from music, or is music your main thing?
Currently now, music is my only thing.
Cool.
Well, I'm working with design, video making, and in a restaurant as well. So, but obviously it's like here that I'm not working in a restaurant, so I'm doing artworks for bands or graphic for, I don't know,
I used to work
any kind of things.
I used to work for Booking.com, but they made me redundant. So I say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna take the chance and be a musician full time. Musician. So yeah. Sound engineer, composer, etc.
No, that's cool, man. Me and Ryan, when we was having struggles with the video, and we just went offline for a second, me and Ryan, the first thing we said was, "Fucking hell, I really respect these boys for how much you're committing to what you're doing." It's something that we kind of relate a lot to stories of bands from the 60s and 70s, which is a lot of our influence. And you don't see a lot of it in modern music, for people to actually really commit themselves completely to their art. And I completely respect you both for doing that. Because I think if you look back in time, that's how bands make it work. You really put yourselves on the line and believe in what you're doing, and then the music or the art rewards you in the end.
Yeah.
Let's hope we see this reward.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that. Like, I don't want you to turn up to my front door in 20 years' time. But no, we both really respect you for it, lads. It's nice to see something to see a band, because like most bands, they'll have the 9-to-5 job, and the music's the escape, and it's nice that you've committed yourselves to that. So as we said, in 2020 you adapted really well to the pandemic, as we all had to with live streaming, and trying to keep the attention in terms of your debut album. What plans do you both have in 2021 to celebrate Lockdown on Mars?
So definitely we're gonna announce it now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a live streaming. We're gonna play 3 songs of the EP.
Cool.
Just
19th.
No, February. Yeah. And it's gonna be live streaming in my room with.
So it's a room that is like 2 meter by 1, so it's like 2 meters squared. And we are 2 people with 2 guitars, 2 keyboards. It's gonna be fun, definitely.
Apart from that, as we said before, we have some festival planned. Actually, one is us with you together.
Oh, which one's that? Because I'm terrible. I never know what's happening tomorrow.
You just turn up.
I just turn up. It's that.
It's the Sad Fest.
Yeah, man. Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, that'd be great if we can do that. Yeah, this is the problem though, isn't it? It's there's so much planned, there's so much in the works. It's like I fucking miss linking up with bands. It's particularly new ones, because I don't think we've gigged before Savfest, have we?
No.
So it'd be great it's particularly after chatting you to be able to then watch each other do our thing, and then chat afterwards. So here's hoping.
I really hope he's gonna. I mean, at least one gig.
Just one.
Yeah.
So what's the details of your live stream? Did you say it was on February 19th?
Yeah.
Cool. And how can people access that if they want to get involved? Is it buying an e-ticket, or is it on your Facebook page?
No, it's going to be on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook page. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, guys. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Yeah, definitely.
Finally, a question that I like to ask everybody that comes on. If you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be?
Okay. In terms of music that we like, or just in terms of experience that you can do in tour?
It's up to you.
Yeah,
it's your choice, boys.
Yeah, you have freedom.
Because probably like Ozzy Osbourne or Motley Crue was definitely...
You've gone straight for the party.
Yeah, you've got
100%.
party vibes.
Ozzy Osbourne, yeah, I like that.
But in terms of music taste, I think that probably Pink Floyd.
Even
Cool.
yeah, or Queen.
Queen, are you sure?
No, maybe not. No. Just because having Freddie Mercury singing after you is just enough.
Yeah.
This is a very good point.
No, yeah. Modern band, I would say Muse, just because it's something we
like, yeah.
We relate a lot. But maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I'd like to see Rammstein.
I mean, Rammstein would definitely throw a spanner in, because at that point it was quite an eclectic, very British, and then you went straight in with German metal, just to ruin the English Tea Party. Any idea of an English Tea Party out of it? Rammstein are going to ruin it. So what are we going with? We're going with Rammstein or Muse?
Muse, probably Muse, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what have we got then, Ryan? We've got Pink Floyd or Queen.
Yeah.
And then Muse.
We'll save it. When
Rammstein are in the. If Muse pull out, we've got Rammstein.
Because of course those audiences perfectly overlap.
Oh, perfectly matched.
Amazingly, yeah.
And then we've got Shape of Water opening. Yeah. I really like the. I mean, with me and Ryan both said there was definitely a bit of a Muse influence in there. You can see that with your sound, but it's cool because it's interesting to see obviously. Pretty much an Italian band, with very, like as you said, very British influences. I mean, you can't. For me, I don't think you can get more British than Queen. It's particularly early Queen, where it's all very sort of, eccentric, and they've really hit on them sort of very English nuances, like with Night at the Opera and Day at the Races. I think it's just. I mean, you're not a massive Queen fan, really, are you, Roy? Where do you sit with Queen?
I'm kind of like 70s Queen.
Yeah, I kind of cut off after. For me, I think that live album Killers. Anything after that is a little bit, when he cut his hair. That's basically the point. When
well, I do not agree, because think about Innuendo.
Yeah, very true. It's a different Queen in some regards. I think it's still got that epicness and still that natural thing that makes Queen different. But there's something magical about, like, for me, Night of the Opera is just. I just think I love the amount of something that you boys probably relate to so much, is that I love the amount of creativity, and I just like with stuff like Lazy on a Sunday Morning and Seaside Rendezvous. The fact, I love it. I just love the idea that was the height. Like for me, you can't get more creative and bold than that. Do you know what I mean? It is, and I think that kind of relates to you as a band. And I'm a Pink Floyd fan as well.
It's two different bands, because obviously Pink Floyd, they make better albums, I think, just because you got just one vibe for all the album. With Queen, it's more like songs.
It's a good way of putting it across. Are you Sid Barrett Pink Floyd or Gilmour Floyd?
Well, I think I'm Gilmour Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I'm as a guitarist, Gilmour's probably one of my biggest influences. So. Yeah, I'm more of a Gilmour guy.
Yeah, me too.
It's a good lineup. I won't sniff at that, boys. I think that's a good lineup. No, absolute pleasure having you both on. Thanks ever so much. It was lovely to chat to you. For those that haven't checked out Shape of Water, go follow them now on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and make sure you pre-order Lockdown on Mars out February 12th, and check out the live stream to celebrate the release on February 19th on their Facebook page. Yeah, fantastic. Right, thanks ever so much, boys.
Thank you.
It's been great.
I really enjoyed that, man. Oh, it's sad. It was cool because I think it's something that's, for a lot of the guys, for me particularly, a lot of the people that we speak to are people that I've gigged with on the road.
Yes.
And we've naturally already got that bit of a rapport, a bit of a relationship, which really helps in an interview. But at the same time, it was nice because it was obviously I've never gigged with Shape of Water. Neither of us have met them before. We chatted with them in the interview, and I think that gave it this really cool sort of like fresh feeling to it, you know, because we're learning as well, aren't we? You know.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first one where I didn't know a lot about them prior. Like for example, with the very first interview, Richie, I'd known of him for like 10 years.
Yeah.
10, 15 years previous. Yeah. So it's, you know, like these guys, I know of them in the last like month, which is quite exciting in many ways because it's, you know, it's something completely new. And hopefully that, you know, that came across for the audience as well. You know, they've been introduced to something completely new as well.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, and if you enjoyed the interview, as we said at the end of it, please check out Shape of Water. They've got the new EP, Lockdown on Mars, coming out on February 12th. Give it some love. Give the boys all the good vibes.
Yes.
And make sure you check us out next Saturday when we have another brand new guest.
Yes, if you go to our Facebook page, every Wednesday you will notice that there is a new teaser with a new guest.
Lovely.
So give us a follow. And while you're here, if you'd like to subscribe,
click the bell.
Click that bell so that you'll get notified every time we upload.
Yeah, we're getting good at this, aren't we?
It's I feel quite natural.
Yeah,
that did.
That's all right. I might like save that little bit and then have that like, you know, it's just my ringtone. You know, when I get up in the morning, just to remind me that I'm a real person.
Yeah, every time you wake up in the morning, you'll hear my sweet voice.
No, actually, it's a bad idea. Yeah. Cancel it now. Cancel it. Get it cancelled. It was good to speak to you all. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Yes.